What's up, guys? I'm doing something a little bit different here. I have with me Matt from the Anime Blitz. Say what's up.
What up?
And this is basically just something new. I've been wanting to collab with Matt here for a while now, and I might do more collaborations, just podcast stuff. Just leave in the comments what you guys think if I should do this in the future. But for now, we're just gonna be talking about anime. We got some stuff to talk about, and yeah. Anything you want to say, introductory wise?
I'm just stoked to do this. Like you said, I've been wanting to collab for a while. I'm glad it's finally happening, and hopefully we have many more to come.
So yeah, first topic. We both have some topics we're gonna go through. You want to say your first one?
Sure, yeah, I'll take it away. So one thing I always find interesting is how people got into reviewing. I mean, for me, it was simple as just watching something and having a very strong opinion and finding out no one else shared that opinion. So that fueled the fire. So what got you into reviewing, and when did you start?
Yeah, definitely I want to know how you got into reviewing all that stuff after. But I've answered this briefly before, but the kind of a short explanation is basically, you know, I watch YouTube a lot, and all I watched was reviews, and once you watch enough reviews, you start to make your own opinions, and you feel real passionate about it. And I felt passionate about music and anime and all this other stuff, and at first I didn't do videos. I had my own little website, and I did written reviews, but yeah, but
Okay.
that just wasn't really going well. Not many people showed up, and
It's tough. It's very saturated for written reviews.
yeah, so, and there's so much more you can do with videos, like the comedy and the green screen and all that stuff I've incorporated. I could never do that with a written review. So basically, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do YouTube, but I was in that funk where I didn't have the right equipment, so that stopped me. And if you are one of those people, just do it. Like, you'll find you'll find yourself along the way. And if you don't get 1 million subs right away, just don't worry about it. Just
And that's completely true. Go ahead.
So basically, finally, I just kind of forked out the money for just some general equipment. I've upgraded a couple things, and then from there, that's how I started reviewing.
And I think that's great advice, because like when I started reviewing, I got my equipment and I bullshitted for like 3 months, and I would do a recording and I'd be like, no, this sucks, and I'd delete it. A week later I'd try again. And I think I started my channel, like I created the account in February, and that's when I started experimenting. And it took me until May to finally be like, all right, I'm just going to put it out whether I hate it or not. And I think I showed like 10 different people. And finally I got enough praise or sympathy to where I decided that it was good enough to post. And it's funny because you were the first commenter on my first video. I don't know how you found it so quickly, but I was like, I think it was 15 minutes.
Yeah, short story. I mean, basically, you know, I feature channels, so I was looking for stuff to feature, and so I'll just type in anime review that popped up recently, and that's how I found you. And like your thing was pretty professional. I was like, did he post someone else's video? Because this seems pretty professional for a first time video.
Right.
So props there, man. I thought.
Well, that means a lot. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. And
it took a lot to finally put it out. And originally I was only going to do videos every other week, but after the good response that I got, I was like, I guess I'll do it every week. And I stuck to that for a while, and I know you have a pretty regular schedule too. How often do you post?
I try to at least once a week, but it's sometimes 2 a week, sometimes once every 3 weeks. You know,
You've got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, I mean, I post
3 channels.
Yeah, I post almost every day on the music channel. But the main channel is where I put like 80% of my energy. So
yeah.
So I try to get as much as I can there. And
that's cool. Yeah, I like the music channel. I found some good stuff on there.
So we were gonna do how we got into anime.
Yeah, and actually right before that, and this kind of could tie into that, I wanted to ask you if there's one video thus far that really stands out as your favorite.
Yeah.
Because you've done a good bit so far.
I've answered this before, but in short, it's sometimes I'll put out a really good video and I'll be like, you know, like I think it's great, but it doesn't get a lot of feedback. It's just kind of okay. So usually the ones that get the most feedback are my favorite. And so my I think the one with the most views I have, it's like a music review, and it's by this guy named Quest. And basically the reason it was so cool because he found it and he commented on, and this is back when I had like 4 subscribers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd and I was going through a lot, like my computer, the screen broke on it, and like just there's a lot of stuff going on, so that kind of, I almost quit YouTube like from that point, so that encouraged me to keep going.
That's awesome, man. Because I know some of those every song type reviews do get a lot of views. I remember seeing, I think it was your Owl City one, had a ton of views, and that's really awesome.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite on your channel?
It's kind of like you, too, where I'll put out something that I did put a lot of effort into. And we were talking about Deadman Wonderland earlier, and I thought that was like a trendy anime people were talking about. And I put a decent amount of effort into that, and I thought it was a good review, but it had like 30 views to this day. It's like one of my least popular ones. So sometimes you can't really predict what's going to be popular or not. My favorite's probably my Dot Hack Sign review, because it's my favorite anime I've ever seen. And I put so much work into that. And I probably made it too long, but you know, when you're talking about something you love, it's easy to go on and on about. Yeah,
I think a lot of people might get turned off by like the time sometimes, but I think when they start watching it, they don't care as long as the content's good.
I know when I look up a review for something that I really like or really hate, I don't care so much about time. It's just the stuff that I'm kind of on the fence about that I'll usually want a quicker review of.
And there are some reviewers like Nostalgia Critic and like Your Movie Sucks, where they'll have like a 30-minute dissection, and like those get like tons of views. So as long as you know,
and even just other like non-review content. Even like other non-review content can be very long, and I'll tune into it. Like I've been watching Grade A Under A lately. Dude's awesome, and he just put out a 23-minute video and didn't even feel like 23 minutes.
YouTube, if you watch too much YouTube, time will just fly by.
Oh, it's the worst.
It really
See, I had to make a rule for myself. I have to like get out of bed before I can watch YouTube, because I will be stuck for like an hour. It's not good. So while we're on the subject of YouTube, just real quickly, this is a problem that I had. I don't know if you have it. Copyright content. Have you been hit with anything?
On my main channel, no, but sometimes I'll get the YouTube bots and they'll be like, oh, you can't even, we're going to take your money if you post this. So I have to go back, re-edit, I got to re-render, and it's a process. And it's completely unfair use. It's complete bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. And it's like, my channel has like, how many subscribers and views? You're going to go after me? It's ridiculous.
You're in the triple digits at this point, so I think they're going to be all over you now.
Have you got anything?
So yeah, I my review of Defrag, when I first uploaded it, I was really stoked on that review. I thought it was great, and as soon as I uploaded it, it was blocked worldwide. So I was like, well, shit. I'm not just going to waste the week that I put into this review. So I did it 3 different times. And finally, I got it to a point where they let me play it in the U.S. and Canada, which kind of sucks because there are more people in the world than just the U.S. and Canada. So I ended up deleting it, and I want to do it again, but it's kind of discouraging after the first time goes so poorly.
Yeah, it's some companies are better. I noticed Funimation.
They're great.
They're pretty good. I'll even like sometimes like want to review something by Funimation more just because I know they're more cool about it. I know like some companies like Studio Ghibli, they're pretty like hardcore on copyright, and that makes me not want to review their movies.
Which sucks because they're excellent movies.
I know, they're amazing. It's like if it's not my favorite company, it's up there.
Exactly. I mean, true works of art in anime, and it just sucks that they're taking that stance. But I mean, Nintendo did the same thing with all the Let's Players.
Yeah, I know. It's like the childhood people are the ones going after it. And I don't know who's making the decisions. It could just be like one. It could just be a couple people working for them.
Right.
But they could just have some greedy people somewhere. They could just have, you know, because I doubt like the Japanese like hardcore. I doubt Hayao Miyazaki is going around YouTube like, oh, flag this. We're gonna get that money from that video.
Yeah.
Like, so,
Shigeru Miyamoto waking every second at night thinking about Let's Players stealing his money, having fever dreams thinking of them.
So I kind of like separate the YouTube Studio Ghibli and the actual Studio Ghibli.
Yeah. Clearly that's not how you want to remember them, especially if they are done like they said they were, which would be disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that for like the past like 3 movies. I know how Miyazaki he's done, but as for the studio, it's on and off. I don't know.
And he deserves a rest.
He does. He's pretty late.
He's been going for. It's hard, sometimes it's easy to forget how long he's been going.
And when he takes up a movie, I've seen the backstage stuff. He's like he does a lot of the animation, the storyboards. He's like at the helm of the movie. He really is. So
yeah,
if he wants to take a break,
it's a process for him.
Yeah.
Definitely something I could never put myself into that much. Like, the amount of work that takes is incredible.
Especially for a movie that could not be received, or money-wise at least, that well. Like, because his movies, like Kiki's Delivery Service, that would never make a U.S. box office thing. Like, oh, it's about a witch and she goes to a new town, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's just thinking about all those old anime movies where they had to be animated by hand is pretty incredible. Like, have you ever seen Akira?
I did see Akira, yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing example of, like, they did that all by hand. It's incredible. Hand animating all the movie, or at least the vast majority of it, and so much is going on in the background. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's especially towards the end of the movie, like, this isn't a spoiler, but like there's some weird stuff going on, and
absolutely,
and just like even just motorcycles, I feel like just hand animating a motorcycle moving, like, oh my god. Yeah.
And maybe this makes me a little old school, but sometimes I do feel like the push to CG, and I've talked about that in some of my recent reviews, does kind of take away it makes it feel less real, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little better, but sometimes it'll be like there's a random CG car and it's like on a hand animated thing and it looks just awful and completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, I've been reviewing a series right now called Active Raid. It's new and it's tough. Even like they'll mix it well sometimes, but other times it just looks like a really bad PS2 or early PS3 game where they'll try to cell shade it and everything. And I know it's cheaper probably, but I think if you want a high quality work,
and I worry,
put the best foot forward.
And I worry because CG sometimes seems like the cheaper route to go. And I know like animators, they'll be like, they're on time, like their schedules are crazy, and like sometimes they get lazy. Dragon Ball Super Episode 5. So I feel like people just, I'm afraid like the future there'll be just a lot of random CG to like make things easier. I don't know. It's just on my worry.
Absolutely. About. I mean, you look at American shows for kids now. I'm not even going to call them cartoons because that's not what they are anymore. I really hate that art style. Like watching the old SpongeBob and you know, Ed, Edd and Eddy shows like that. I love, even if it is a little bit sketchy of an art style, not the highest quality, I think it made it more fun that way.
And I've heard, so if we're talking about American cartoons, I've heard some people talk to me about Rick and Morty and like Steven Universe, and they say they're great shows, but like I'll look at some shows and it's like the animation kind of bothers me. Like we went from Teen Titans to Teen Titans Go, and I'm like,
not a fan.
Yeah, like I can't take that seriously, even almost for comedy. I can't like.
Exactly.
Like
now, shows like Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, regular show, I do appreciate because they do have more simple art style.
And those could work for those shows. I haven't seen them. It's just animation thing I have to get over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but older shows like the Ed, Edd and Eddies and stuff like that, I'll watch that fine. I don't have a problem with that. So.
Exactly. And you mentioned Dragon Ball Super, and it's funny that you have all this, you know, I guess non-budget. It should be a big budget behind Dragon Ball Super, but you look at even the old Dragon Ball, and there were like little errors here and there. There were little imperfections, but that was okay.
And I feel like Dragon Ball is on this whole other. Like we're in 2016 and like it's a completely different thing. So back in the 90s, it wouldn't like pop up on the internet right away, and people would be like, "Oh, look at this hideous animation."
Yeah.
So I feel like
exactly.
if anything, that should be more of an urge to. I know they did fix it for like the DVD release, like.
But that shouldn't be okay regardless.
Yeah, it really should.
I don't know much about. I think it's Toei is the one that is doing it. But if that were me, I'd put all of my money into it because the whole world's basically watching.
Yeah, and it's a big series. Like a lot.
Yeah.
Like you should take that serious.
That would definitely be their biggest IP.
Like I've seen random
one.
shows on Crunchyroll that no one's heard of, and it's like way better looking than that.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And to be honest, I kind of find it a little odd anyway that they released the movies and now they're basically breaking the movies down into a series, from what I understand.
And there are subtle differences I hear. Stuff gets spoiled to me, and I dislike it, but it's sometimes you can't help it.
Now, you had mentioned that you're waiting for the dub as well. That's my rule. Like I can watch almost anything sub, but Dragon Ball Z is that one show. And maybe it was because I was a kid and I started watching it that I attached to those English voices, but can't get over certain voices, and by that I do mean Goku's. It's a rough voice to get behind.
But props on her. I forget her name, but props on her for screaming like that even at her age. Yeah,
she goes hard.
And I've seen some Dragon Ball subs, and I know some people are hardcore about the sub. It's just not for me. It's just a preference thing.
In all honesty, probably a lot of the early shows that I grew attached to in like middle school, I probably would have a hard time watching a sub for them. Just because I've been watching them for so long.
And I don't think any anime fans started on a sub. Very few have. It's a rare thing when people start on a sub. If you want to talk about the Dragon Ball movies, because I did see those both in dub.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Dragon Ball movies, I've reviewed both on my channel. Have you reviewed either?
I have seen them. I have not reviewed them. No.
Okay, were you planning on it?
Down the line somewhere. Right now I'm reviewing the original Dragon Ball, which is like random a little bit, but it got decent reception.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's cool. I mean, I love the original Dragon Ball. I had actually only seen the first season up until about, I want to say it was 5 years ago or so, and I just kind of bought it all on Amazon, marathoned it, because I had just gotten my wisdom teeth out the week that I got the last two seasons, and I blew through those seasons. It was great. Watched Dragon Ball and ate pudding for a week. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Not a bad week.
Yeah, but do you want to do like a little spoiler talk of the movies? Because
I mean, I think at this point, if you haven't seen the movies, it's okay. You know what happens. I'm sure someone's told you. So we'll start with Battle of Gods. That was the most recent one I saw.
Yeah, and for those watching, I'll put like a little.
Did you think that was a good?
I was gonna say.
I'll
have a little time skip for those who don't want to hear about the movies and spoilers.
Yeah.
But I
respect that. I don't like spoilers. It's the worst thing in the world.
Especially for stuff you're passionate about. Like Dragon Ball is something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And like stuff from Super, like I'll be scrolling on YouTube, and for Neverworld or someone will have a video that just completely tells me everything, and I'm just like, okay. Like, like, respect to him or whatever.
It's a tough line to walk on how much you spoil, how much you don't.
And some people are good about it than others. Some people assume,
well,
why? They'll be like, why are you subscribed to my channel if you're not watching that? And I'm like, I'm not subscribed on it. It'll be in like the suggested videos or something.
Right. You just want more content about it. You don't
exactly.
You're not necessarily subscribed. Yeah. Some people do feel like whatever's discussed in the first episode is okay to spoil. Even for me personally, it's literally whatever you see in the actual description of the show is what I'll tell you. And I try to keep it to that.
I try to keep it to the description, the trailers, like stuff like that.
Exactly. Although some of those trailers you got to be careful of nowadays. There's some pretty spoilery trailers.
Especially from Hollywood.
Yeah, did you see the Batman vs Superman one?
I basically know everything that's gonna happen.
I'm not gonna see the movie. Why would I see it?
I basically know what's gonna happen. They're gonna team up and they're gonna kill Doomsday, I assume, and Wonder Woman's gonna be there, and
I mean, they could have even held the Wonder Woman surprise, but they even threw that one out there.
Yeah. Hell, I almost wanted to wait to the movie to see what's his name as Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah.
But I know what he looks like. I have clips of him talking. Weird tangent. We were talking about Battle of Gods. I actually saw it in theaters, and it was...
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was so packed. It was like I had to go on the front row and sitting next to random people
the whole time.
Yeah, and it was just so surreal. Everyone was a fan. Like literally everyone, because
that's great.
You know when Beerus and Goku are in like space and it gets really quiet for a second?
Yeah.
The entire theater was dead. Not
nice.
Packed theater. I didn't hear anything. And when the credits rolled, everyone stood up and applauded. It was great. It was so
awesome. That's great. Now, see, conversely, I didn't see Battle of Gods in theaters, but I did see Resurrection F in theaters. And it was the same thing. People were really excited watching the movie. They didn't ruin it in any way.
Yeah.
It was such a good... It was probably the best movie experience I've ever been to be honest.
Yeah, aside from being in the front row, it was up there for me.
Yeah. We actually had really good seats for Resurrection. We were like dead middle. It was great.
Which movie do you like better?
Oh boy. See, that's tough.
I'm more for Battle of Gods personally.
I think I am too.
Yeah,
but I do have problems with both.
Yeah, I have problems with both. Resurrection F has some just tropes and that finish.
Yeah.
Literally, it was almost like a meme. Like, what would how will Resurrection F end? It'll end with Goku stealing Vegeta's kill. Like that would be like a joke I hear going into the movie. But literally, that's what happened.
Right.
And literally, he was just like, Frieza, Kamehameha, dead.
It wouldn't kill them to give Vegeta just a little bit of the spotlight.
Yeah. And it was the same thing.
What did you like the most about Battle of Gods?
Well, other than just seeing the characters again and all that, but I like Beerus and Whis. They were really one of my favorite villains just from that movie.
They're pretty awesome.
And he really just beat Goku, like, compared to compared to Resurrection F, where if Goku and Vegeta would have fused or teamed up or anything at any point, they could have destroyed him. But with Beerus, like, they were basically fighting for just the spirit of kind of just fighting, and it was just seeing the new
which was fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and the new form, like, it was hype, even if there were some problems with it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Seeing Shenron, like, oh, Lord Beerus, oh, I gotta leave.
That was perfect. Yeah,
other
so
than
great.
That whole thing with Pilaf and Trunks and Mai, I didn't like that. Like,
you know, I have a question about that. We'll get back to that one though. Keep going.
I mean, I watched the movie like with my girlfriend, and that's how I introduced her to Dragon Ball. Like, not that she really got into it based off that.
Not a bad introduction.
Yeah, but like that scene, I was just kind of just like, I don't want to show her this scene. It's awkward, and I'd be like, oh no, that's like a 50-year-old woman. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Hitting on that little boy. So. Yeah, but that's one of those anime things people can expect from anime.
So, real quickly, because I looked it up, I asked a few people, but no one seemed to know. How did Mai end up looking like a child again?
I've heard, because I know Toriyama does a lot of weird spin-off stuff. I think they might have said that they used the Dragon Balls for eternal youth, but then Shenron just made them eat.
Oh.
But that's not really how they work.
No.
So
I was very confused watching that.
Yeah, and that kind of, again, by now GT isn't even like, that doesn't.
No, that's not canon. The movies aren't canon.
Yeah, they're not. It's not canon, but it couldn't even happen by now because the story is just on its own, completely different level. But it was. Yeah, I think they wish for eternal youth. Pilaf must get the Dragon Balls every year at this point because. That's like 3 in a row for him.
Clearly, yeah.
And yet he still only has like a little bit of money he made off of Resurrection F, that I did like, where you just like, 1,000,000 zenny, and he just...
Yeah, that is funny,
That was
yeah.
funny.
That was good, that was good. Yeah, I would agree with you that I did like seeing all the characters again, and I think making it a little bit more of a lighthearted movie was a good idea. Because Dragon Ball was a more lighthearted show, and it did feel like it went back to the roots a little bit.
Yeah, in a good way. Like, GT was trying to get back to the roots and keep Dragon Ball Z at the same time.
It felt very forced.
Very forced, and it was like it wasn't like quirky in a good way, it was like quirky in a weird way. And
exactly, yeah, and that's a good way to put it. It was just kind of a bit awkward.
Like with those one dudes who were doing the weird dance and everything.
Yeah,
and
it felt very forced.
Yeah, and then General Wildo, who didn't even die, was like the strongest dude ever, and he lived.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing.
I haven't even seen GT all the way through, like every single episode.
Oh, no.
Eventually I will,
Okay.
but it's just so far back on my to-do list.
And it's not a high priority.
Right.
It really isn't.
Like if I ever break my leg and can't move for a while, I'll probably watch GT. That's my thought on GT. Like if I'm stuck somewhere for a period of time, yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
But I need to be pretty incapacitated to watch that.
Yeah. It has some good, like a couple good moments, but other than that, it's not even worth it. Especially since Super kind of just negated it.
Now, I actually have a funny story recently with GT. I was at CC's Pizza. Do they have that around you?
I think
it's that real shitty kind of buffet style pizza.
Yeah, I don't know if
place.
I've been there, but yeah, I know of it.
You're missing nothing. It's shit. But I was with my girlfriend because we needed some quick food. And I was talking to her, and they have a TV up there because it is kind of geared towards kids and adults. And they were playing Dragon Ball GT. This was like 6 months ago. They were playing GT, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what am I watching right now? Of all the Dragon Ball, you're playing this?
Yeah.
And it looked like it was just tuned into some network, so I guess there's some network somewhere still playing it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah. Talk about another fun GT story. I remember being a kid, and I was watching it on Toonami and GT, so, because I missed the ball on Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I didn't get around till GT.
What a shame.
Yeah, I know, it really was a shame. But basically, I'm a small child at this point.
Yeah.
And the ending, apparently as a kid, I had like a lot of problems with the ending because I thought a bunch of cool stuff was gonna happen, and there would be closure, I guess, which there wasn't really. So I remember just being a kid and being like really sad, and my mom had to like confront me because I hated the ending.
Oh, really?
This is a small child who liked like terrible movies. Like,
right.
And the fact that I had a problem with GT as a child is kind of funny.
Very unrealistic expectations for something that doesn't even feature the creator of Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and I've seen the ending of GT again. It's not as bad, but it really...
It's tough when you have your expectations set so high. Like, I've reviewed a couple series where the first half of the show is just great, and then they do something just totally out of left field that you hate.
Exactly.
Leaves a very sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I remember watching Sora Online, and I saw the first couple episodes. I was like, this is really good, and then it kind of...
Everyone's told me that.
Yeah.
That it didn't end well. I, out of like somewhat principle, I haven't watched it because I am a big fan of Dot Hack, and it's basically the same premise.
Yeah, my best friend, he's the same way. He's like, I don't want to watch it because I'm a Dot Hack fan.
I'm the biggest that's my shit. I still collect a bunch of stuff. I do videos on it, so
yeah,
it's awesome, and I hope they bring it back eventually.
Yeah, have you seen Log Horizon at all? Because I've heard good.
No, I've heard that's pretty good as well.
Yeah, I need to get to watching that because I've heard good things.
Now I heard season 2 of Sword Art Online was terrible from the start. So
terrible in the sense that it kind of just kept going from where the last one ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first one kind of met like a logical conclusion then?
It ended in a way that people didn't expect the season 2 necessarily.
Okay.
So, but it was open for interpretation a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't hate the series. I just don't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm like that with a lot. That's kind of how like Deadman Wonderland was for me. I talked about that earlier, and I thought I'd like it a lot more. It kind of just It was all right.
Yeah, and we can talk about the main character because we both have different.
Yeah, we have very strong opinions.
Which is kind of funny that like I've had like 4 conversations with people who just hate this person, and I'm like, I kind of hate him too, but like I think he's a good character, if that makes sense.
I would say that the last few episodes he became a good character. Major spoilers coming, by the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can try, but basically, if we do get into spoilers, I'll just have a skip button. But basically, you know, Deadman Wonderland's like a scary place.
Yeah.
And everyone's crazy. So I think not having a relatable person who's like crying and scared would be a little unrelatable. And just having like a weird badass dude like, oh, what is this? Like, would kind of make it not as impactful. But maybe it would have been better. I don't know.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't think that we needed like a Goku.
Yeah.
Like a Goku who is so strong and confident. I just felt like maybe he was a little bit too crying and scared sometimes. And his voice just grated on me throughout.
Yeah, his voice. Which I'm not a fan of his voice. I think I even made fun of that in my review.
Yeah. Wimpiest voice. I couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, but he wasn't even like the center of the show, really.
No, he wasn't.
You had the one girl, Shiro. She was a big screen time. The one dude, Crow. There was enough side characters.
Yeah.
That took up
And now I will say that in the last few episodes they matured him quite a bit, especially in prepare the spoiler button when everyone died and shit ended. That he would just seem very beaten down by all of it, and I thought that was very interesting. They didn't make him look triumphant. He just witnessed some of the worst stuff he'll ever see, and he just had like no will to even run off anymore. So I thought that was a very interesting and apt way of ending it.
Yeah, and if I was him, I couldn't even make it as far as he did. The second, like, I saw what I was up against, I'd be like, this is too crazy for me. I maybe if I could shoot bullets out of my hand. That'd be kinda cool.
Right.
And
I did like that blood weaponized thing. That was cool.
Yeah, that was a cool idea. But like, I think after a while, I'd be like, okay, this is making me feel terrible. I feel lightheaded. So I'd be like, this is a dumb superpower. I'm just gonna not pay the money or whatever.
Right.
And
you donate blood, you feel woozy. I can't even imagine shooting it over and over again.
And they shoot a lot of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's an anime, so you could expect that people.
You got to suspend the disbelief a little bit.
Yeah. You could lose like half your body and weight of blood, and you'll be like, oh, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're talking about. It's funny that we're bringing up Deadman Wonderland because that's probably one of the least favorite shows I've seen and reviewed. What would be yours then? Because I know you've reviewed a lot, not even just anime. What's your least favorite thing you saw and you reviewed?
Oh God, I really haven't. I've saved a couple of things that I just kind of hate.
Really?
Like, yeah. So like, I have this one. You know, I have like the soul badge of approval, right?
Yeah.
I have like a soul badge of like shit that I haven't even got.
Okay.
That's what I used to use when I did written reviews. I haven't even gotten to use that yet, and I almost want to review.
Oh God.
I just want to review some so I can give that. Maybe.
Hey, maybe review GT. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
that could be your first one.
Yeah. There's this movie called After Earth by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, boy.
I think I gave like a 4 out of 10. So
that's a pretty bad movie.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So probably.
And it sucks as someone like I'm a Shyamalan fan. You know, I got to be a little more closeted about it these days. But he's put out some great movies, and I thought The Visit was really good. So
yeah, I saw The Visit. It was really good. I saw it in the theaters.
It was awesome. It kind of reminded me of the vibe you got from the old like Evil Dead type movies, where it was equal parts horror and comedy.
Yeah,
I like that.
And it was playing on like a real phobia. Like they were afraid of like old people, and I've seen some people, they were like, no, old people just scared me.
Yeah.
And I don't think very few movies or stories have really dealt with just old people being scary.
Right.
It's a real phobia, so.
And I like that movie a lot, and I was kind of surprised that it only had a lukewarm reaction. So hopefully he's got another one coming out in 2017.
What's it about?
I don't remember the name, but there's actually some pretty big names attached to it, so you know, here's hoping.
Yeah, as long as it's not The Last Airbender 2, I'm okay with it.
Right. Now, in all fairness, I heard that he was kind of set up to fail with that. Like,
Was he?
the person that played a certain role was one of the producer's kids, and
Oh no.
there are a lot of hands and a lot of
Yeah.
cooks in the kitchen,
Yeah.
basically.
None of the actors. Like I think one of the dudes from Twilight is playing Sokka, and
And the
there's-
fact that they called him Aang instead of Aang.
I don't know whose decision that was, but God, like
Like, what the fuck?
and I'm a big
That's-
Airbender fan, so that was
Yeah.
that was a very sad day for me when I saw that movie.
Yeah, my girl's a big fan too, and she found it, you know, passable in I think the most salvageable way. But I mean, even other people, they say there's nothing salvageable about that movie. But I haven't seen it. I don't want to
Dude.
see it because the one season I have seen of Airbender was great. I don't want to sour that.
Yeah, at this point, if you're on the internet around long enough, you know what's going on with that movie. Like, so
Exactly.
many people have shitted on that movie. It's like Dragon Ball Evolution.
I did bring that up in a review actually once, that
Yeah.
it's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
That's probably my least favorite movie, Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah, I would probably say it's up there for me. I watch a lot of horror movies on Netflix and a lot of like the real underground cheesy stuff. So I've seen some pretty terrible movies, but I think that actually might trump all of the Netflix shit I've seen.
Yeah. There are some bad movies out there, but Dragon Ball Evolution, I think, was almost just worse because of what it was, and the fact that the U.S., Hollywood, whatever, would be like, yeah, this is
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
We can put this out
Yeah.
for the world to see.
The kids will love it.
Exactly.
No. I wonder how much they lost on that movie.
I have no idea, but at the same time, it was like
I can find out.
It was trying to be like almost nice to the series because there was like some callbacks. Like there's
Right,
some
right.
like, oh look, this will please the fans, and then it's just like no.
So get this, the budget was $30 million, and they actually made $57.5 million. So, unfortunately, they were profitable.
And they wanted to make a sequel.
Yeah, I know, that's dangerous. Like, you don't want to make a profit on a bad movie. Oh man. But back to anime.
Yeah.
We were talking about. We've come full circle back to Dragon Ball. Our thoughts on Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods are about the same.
Yeah.
I think that now I haven't seen the original. I've only seen the extended cut, and I don't know what was added and what wasn't added. But I felt like they lingered a little too long
Yeah.
on the party,
Yeah,
and I never felt.
I was gonna say the uncut version. It's just a little bit extended stuff. It's not that much.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's nothing important really. It was
That's
cut
what I
for a
thought.
reason, basically.
And I realized that watching it. And while it's nice to watch, I didn't think it was just too long in the exposition. There was way too much build up, and I never really felt a real threat with Beerus. Like, I know he said, "I'm going to destroy the Earth." I knew he was never going to destroy the Earth.
There definitely wasn't that threat at all, but it was like at the same time like you were like intimidated by him a little bit. Like he was
You definitely were.
like when he like got pissed like about the wasabi thing at the end. I was like, oh no. I was like, no.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
he woke up and was like, I'm good. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as long as you keep giving me ice cream, I'm good. But yeah.
I did like the dynamic between Beerus and Whis a lot. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
To throw new characters into a series like that old, it's risky, and it worked really well for them.
Especially characters that don't have like this legendary Broly concept art.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's what people.
I mean, same thing goes for in Resurrection F when we had Jacko. I thought he was really funny.
Like, and again, Frieza's new concept art is kind of a left field thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think if you look at like just the fan art for for Dragon Ball, it just gets more Buffy, more mega hair, like super rainbow colors, and I think that's what some people want. But at the same time, Akira Toriyama doesn't want that at all. So.
Right, exactly. So, overall, you know, if I was going to rate Dragon Ball, I think, Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, I think I gave it a B, but at this point, I'd probably drop it to a B-. There's so much that I'd want to, not so much, but there's enough that I'd want to change to where I think that it could have been better.
Yeah.
And it was certainly lacking that engagement that I got like watching the Frieza saga for the first time or anything like that.
It definitely was not taking itself as serious. And at the same time, it was being like, oh, this is the strongest person yet. But they almost have to do that at this point. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, you gotta constantly up the power every single time. Now, moving on to Resurrection F, it's almost funny to me because I had the exact opposite view, that I felt like the fight, at least the first fight, was great, but there wasn't enough meat to the story.
Yeah, it was kind of like when he came back against Trunks, like if he was actually like really strong. Because he basically showed up, I'm gonna blow up the city. Those people didn't get revived. Fuck them. And basically, you know, he wasn't even as strong as Goku from the beginning, so... And then they nerfed Gohan, which was my...
Oh, don't even get me started on that.
That was my biggest complaint. He gets one-shotted by First Form Frieza, goes down, not even a
He's
Super
wearing
Saiyan
a fucking tracksuit
wearing
the
a
whole
tracksuit
time.
with a dumb haircut.
Jesus Christ.
That was the guy who was supposed to be the strongest in the whole show.
Yeah.
And, I haven't been training for like 2 years. I guess I'm like weaker than Piccolo now.
That also, like, you're weaker than Roshi? Come on.
Yeah, how is Roshi being able to do any of that? Like, Roshi...
Which,
like,
I mean, skeptical as I was of it, I did love seeing him kick ass again.
At the same time, I loved it. I
Awesome.
love Roshi getting anything. Like, when his little rod thing broke, and he was like, oh, like, I love that. But at the same time...
let's do this! I was like, fuck yeah!
At the same time, he barely fought, like, Kid Goku at the first World Tournament. But now he's fighting, like, dozens of people who can shoot energy beams and fly, which he can't even do.
It's the power creep. I mean, eventually it's going to make things completely unreasonable.
Yeah, and then Goku went down from a single laser beam.
Yeah, that was something. And then Yamcha, too, not really being anything to talk about. I mean, he's just kind of become the joke of the show. They had a joke about him in that movie, too. You remember that?
How'd it go?
I think it's something like, let's call Yamcha or something like that. And then they were like, maybe not. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know they took a shot at him, and I know the theater just died when I was watching it.
Yeah, I would appreciate Yamcha. I would appreciate Gotenks showing up. And I think he does for Dragon Ball Super, but
Oh, cool. Yeah, actually, I've seen a still from it.
Yeah.
And you know, you go back talking about Dragon Ball, and it's cool that you're rewatching it, or what? Is it first time you're watching, or are you rewatching it?
First time.
First time. Wow.
Yeah. No.
So you're gonna see exactly what I did, 5-6 years ago, where it gives so much more life to these characters that really kind of stagnated in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like Yamcha, he had a good arc. He was a strong guy for a while.
Yeah, I know.
Tien was a fearsome kind of fighter.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that. Any cool stuff you get from a prequel, like they'll be like, oh, look at this person like doing stuff when he was young, but at the same time, it's like not forcing that at all. It's just it's natural. So, and it's like just Bulma, like him like shooting a Kamehameha and just like putting on that suit for the first time. It was amazing.
I mean, I'll go on record to say, minus maybe the Frieza fight, the most exciting moments in all of Dragon Ball Z are some of those World Martial Arts tournaments for me, because they're so fun. And one thing that I've discussed with a friend before is I find it weird that back then, using energy, shooting energy waves, flying, things like that, people kind of could get behind. But then you look in whatever season that was in Dragon Ball Z, and people are like, how is he flying? He's shooting beams from his hand. Like, how do they forget? I know it was a while ago, but they shouldn't forget that that's possible.
Yeah, they have very selective memory. Like Goku will fly around with his during his driving test, and they'll be like, "Oh God!" But Hercule, who can't do any of that, they're like, "Yeah, you're the strongest ever."
I know.
And even though it's like during the whole Cell games, the camera was on him watching the Cell games, and he's like, "Oh, my foot" or something, and it's like, Akira Toriyama thinks the entire population is like half retarded or something.
Well, the world itself is kind of insane.
It is.
Like, there are talking dogs that walk around and stuff.
And they're present.
It's crazy. It makes no sense, and I think that's why I love it so much.
I saw a good meme. It was like, you have a talking dog for president, but the weird thing is that this little kid has a tail. Like,
Right.
yeah, and
That's what's hanging us up right now.
And I mentioned in my review, they have like flying cars and like future technology, but they have dinosaurs like at the same time.
No sense to this world at all, but that's why I love it so much.
No fucks given, really.
So you were a little late to the anime game then with Toonami and all that if you started at GT. What age did you start watching it?
I think, and I'll just tell my whole getting into anime story. I was like,
Go for it.
I must have been. I watched a little bit. I played the Dragon Ball games as a kid. I watched like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and shit like that. Your usual kid stuff. Naruto,
everyone watched Pokemon.
Even.
You're a liar if you didn't watch Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically, I think I was like maybe 11, 12, and I had like a bunch of the Dragon Ball VHS tapes that I had when I was younger. And basically, one summer, all I did was like watch movies and VHS tapes, and I watched those episodes of Dragon Ball a lot. And I was like, I want every episode of Dragon Ball. So basically, my mom, she would do these like art shows, and I would help her, and she'd give me like $20. And every time I did that, I'd get a new season of Dragon Ball. And that's basically, I went from Dragon Ball, and then I like went into anime from that. Because it kind of, I would see like the commercials beforehand, and I would be like, oh, that show looks amazing. And then once I became more inept with like the internet, I like went out and discovered it, and basically just Dragon Ball. That's how I got into it.
Nice. I mean, it's a show that definitely consumed my world as a kid. You start with like the Pokemon. I watched a lot of Digimon, and it wasn't. I feel like it was probably 5th grade or so that I discovered Toonami, and that changed everything. Like, my ritual was come home from school, and if I remember correctly, it went Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball Z. I think Rurouni Kenshin might have been in there, and those shows, that was it for me. I basically gave up on all other cartoons. I was like, this is it. This is the future.
Yeah, and it's like so weird. Like cartoons for kids will come and buy, but when kids like get hooked on anime, it's like gold. And I think kids like storylines just like people. So it's like
exactly.
Cartoons like kind of like, oh, we don't want to confuse people by having a storyline. We'll have like an episode by episode thing. But at the same time,
which is
like
crazy.
Yeah, kids, they'll be like, what happens next? So they want to know the full story. So they're dumbing down the content necessarily. Kids want to feel like adults. They really do. So
exactly.
And Dragon
that's
Ball,
why I think I gravitated towards it.
Dragon Ball, they curse, they like throw up middle fingers and all this other shit. And
it was
when
great.
I was a kid, I was like, holy shit! Like, I'm an adult right now. So
because then they had the midnight run on Toonami Saturday nights, and you got to see a whole different side to anime because you saw maybe not necessarily kid-friendly, but parent-approved side of anime. And Saturday night, I think it was 11 or 12 it started, and that was awesome.
Yeah, and Toonami, no one's like, oh, I remember watching like these certain shows. It's always Toonami. So that completely shows like the effect it has, not just with kids, but just with that like people who aren't familiar with anime, and
right.
And it was.
And I actually there was a good while where I got out of anime almost entirely, and it's so stupid looking back, but you're so influenced by your peers at school. And I went to this kind of snooty private school, and everyone was, oh, anime, ew, and so for a while I kind of just abandoned it like an idiot, and it wasn't until that I want to say that I started watching Dragon Ball again, but I didn't really seek out new stuff until just about a year and a half, 2 years ago with a show called Blue Exorcist. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, I heard good things. Good things.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show, and it's not like amazing, but it like reinvigorated that love. I was like, holy shit, I love anime. Because it was back when Toonami was back and everyone was all happy.
Yeah, and a lot of those like, and I was just gonna make a comment, like it was weird how like a lot of the anime stuff. I was just gonna say how weird like those like kids who like Digimon stuff, how they went like, oh, that's for kids, and I was basically like a part of that generation, like, oh, that's for kids, even though I was like 10 years old. And it's weird how literally all those kids, now that they grow up, they like go back to it. and no one cares anymore.
Exactly. And I think, since we're going to have to wrap up in a sec, that next time would be cool to talk about shows like Digimon and Pokemon. There was like a real rivalry for a while over, you said you like Digimon around the wrong people. They'd be like, hey, fuck you, man.
We could take this to the playground right now.
Yeah, it's some real gang mentality, so
yeah.
It was definitely interesting back then. It was a great time to be young, in my opinion, back then. That we had so many new things, and that was really the height of anime coming to America. That was like the revolution of it.
And
so yeah, I'm happy I grew up back then. That was cool.
And you see the impact it has now. Just a couple kids watching Toonami, but now anime is this big thing in the West now.
Look at Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan, and like literally, like I remember just when I was like in class, like there will be like someone will mention something about anime, and like 10 kids will like gravitate toward each other, and that's like a third of the class, like, and they all love anime. That's not something that would have happened like just a couple years ago. So
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
But anyway, definitely good talking about this. Got to talk about it again soon. If you want to wrap it up, then it is your podcast on your channel.
Okay, no problem. Guys, make sure to subscribe to Anime Blitz. Just great content from this guy, great dude. We definitely gotta do this again. And again, if you like the podcast and shit, let me know so I can make more. And but we're definitely gonna keep this going. And I think that will be it. Any final words?
I'm just looking forward to doing it again and talking more about all the stuff that we love, like Pokemon and Digimon and the epic rivalries between kids on them. So, looking forward to that next time, man.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day. And, yeah. Fuck it. With that, we leave you.